Goku versus Josuke. Both characters are extremely strong and considered the pinnacle of power, representing their own universes. If you've been on TikTok or YouTube, you've always seen these characters representing their own universes in terms of strength. When you think about Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball in terms of power, you think about Goku. But when you think about JoJo's, if Wonder of You is not on the page, then Josuke is always there. So what would happen if we were to put them against each other? I'm accompanied by my friend Antagonist who will be covering the Dragon Ball side of the video. I highly recommend subscribing to his YouTube or following his TikTok, which will be linked in the description below. Now, without further ado, Josuke doesn't have any amazing physical feats, but rather it's his abilities that makes him really that strong. For instance, after deflecting FX's brother's grab, he's able to hit him with a quick jab and embed a bubble inside of his skin. Although we don't know how this bubble is able to infest itself inside of the skin, whether or not it's being pierced, or if it's able to literally bypass cells, it's still able to harm him from inside out. And with these bubbles in question, he's able to make his own bubbles into explosive, concussive bubbles. These bubbles kinda act like Kyros's bombs, as shown in part 8 and part 4, that they have fiery similarities to their explosions. So theoretically, if Josuke does land a punch on Goku on his head, he's able to literally blow his head inside out. But his bubbles don't just act offensively, but they're able to act defensively as well, being able to literally reattach his own organs along with completely healing himself. As shown, Josuke was practically liquefied, but he's able to reattach his entire body structure, including his liver, and then proceeded to walk outside of the room completely unharmed. Josuke doesn't need his bubbles themselves to be able to durability negate, but rather stands themselves are able to literally bypass exteriors as their abstract souls. We see this in part 8 as Josuke's stands are able to bypass literally any door or any building or anything for that matter, and in part 3 where Jotaro is able to pump Joseph's heart back to life. And now for the Go Beyond bubbles. One review states that the act of pursuing is certain to become a severe disaster that is sent back to the attacker. That is because the flow of calamity is the flow of reasoning. One review uses logic and calamity interchangeably. He believes that they're both simply the same thing, because he believes that the series of events that are followed up with the calamity are a logical continuous change. Damn, I meant to say chain. He states that the logic of this world is linked together in a continuous chain. To overcome that is simply not possible. What this means is that he's able to direct whatever misfortune towards any attacker that attempts to approach him, and whatever series of events happens right after is just logical. Because at the bottom of the chain is you pursuing him, and at the tip of the chain is whatever is happening to you is just gonna fall down. Picture yourself walking up a flight of stairs. Every step you take to get closer to the top of the flight of stairs is simply logical, because these are a series of events followed by your actions. So since calamity is just bad fortune and he's able to just manipulate anything that is evil or just bad fortune to direct it towards his adversaries or enemies, it does make logical sense that Josuke's bubbles are not being able to be controlled by calamity itself, since they're able to move so fast that they cease to exist. The narrator touches on this as well when he says something that does not exist in this world. If you can't see them and they don't exist, they probably can't be controlled. So because they don't exist in this world, they are not a part of Wonder of Use's arsenal. But what's interesting about these bubbles is that they're able to completely act like Vanilla Ice's ability, as both are stated not to be inside of the dimensional world that they're in, but they're still able to affect it. This is an inference I'm making because both of them seem to act in the same nature, and both of them do not exist inside of this world, yet they're able to affect it. So it's not that his bubbles transcend logic, as that wouldn't be something I'll be able to explain to you. You cannot logically explain something that is illogical. It's more like it's something like Vanilla Ice's ability, how it's able to not exist in the dimension that it's in, but maybe affect you in an alternative dimension. So when they say his abilities go beyond reasoning, it's talking about the reasoning of this world, as there's nothing that really hold his bubbles inside of the universe that he's in. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Josuke. In terms of abilities and AP, I don't really think that AP is something that matters when it comes to Josuke, because he's got a gun and every bullet inside of his chamber is able to just shoot Goku and just harm him. They can also blow him inside out, so that's pretty much it. For speed, Josuke doesn't really have any good speed feats. Besides being able to like run faster than overweight women. But that's pretty much it. I'm gonna leave it over to antagonist now.
What's up guys, it's NTR here, NTR Antagonist. And as Forkin might have already said, I'm covering the Goku scaling in this video. Let's not waste any time and get straight into it, shall we? Some of the earliest statements for Dragon Ball characters reaching the 4-dimensional or universal tiers of power come from the Buu saga, where it's stated in the L Manga Legendaria that Buu is a being with the power to destroy the very universe. This is consistent with the fact that in order to defeat Kid Buu, Goku required to gather energy from the entire universe and even from beings beyond the universe in the afterlife. For those who may not know by now, he does this using a technique called the Spirit Bomb, which gathers energy from not only living things but also inanimate objects and stars. As long as there is energy, it'll gather said energy. Goku was capable of boxing with Kid Buu and doing heavy amounts of damage to him during their fight, even with an untrained version of Super Saiyan 3. After about 4 years, Goku had gotten so much stronger to the point where he felt like he could take on Kid Buu with only his Super Saiyan transformation. And then Beerus shows up and absolutely two-shots this version of Goku. Goku then achieves a transformation called Super Saiyan God and proceeds to have a clash with Beerus that's so powerful it threatens to destroy the entire macrocosm. For those who may not know, the macrocosm is the combination of the universe, the afterlife, and the demon realm connected to one singular universe within the 12 universes of Dragon Ball. The afterlife/otherworld is deemed to be its own cosmos/universe, and Goku and Beerus threaten to destroy that along with the main universe. This feat alone would place both Goku and Beerus within the low multi ranges, and then Goku proceeds to get thousands upon millions of times stronger than this. To note, a statement used to extrapolate on the power of God destruction when the concept was first released in the series was that their power truly transcends dimensions. If we were to take this statement, it would imply that the gods of destruction and characters who scale relatively to them, such as Goku, would scale towards the 5D ranges of power at least, seen as the previously 4-dimensional levels of power in the verse were not treated as transcending dimensions at all. This is consistent with the fact that in order to actually be able to challenge Beerus, Goku had to acquire an entirely new type of power, God Ki, which when he acquired it and was able to turn into a Super Saiyan God, he deemed this new level of power to be something beyond anything he could have ever imagined, stating it to be a whole new world of power. This is also consistent with the fact that Beerus is stated to transcend all, and there's even a statement exclusive to the movie that states that the battle between Goku and Beerus was a super-dimensional battle. Some might argue that the transcend all statement is also exclusive to the movie, however that's debatable. Anyway, if you don't take the 5D scaling for whatever biased reason, Goku would still end up being millions, if not trillions of universes into multiversal ranges, which is probably already way more than he's gonna need for this particular fight. Now as for speed, there are many feats one could go off in order to argue for Goku to be in the MFTL Plus to potentially infinite speed ranges, so I'll just go off and list a couple out there and just explain the logic behind them. Baby Goku's space pod took about 8 months to go all the way from Planet Vegeta to Earth, based on the calendar given to us in the Daizenshu. Planet Vegeta is depicted as being all the way on the opposite side of the universe compared to Earth, so if we lowball and say that this map is only referring to the real life observable universe, and we say the distance between those 2 points takes up about half of that observable universe, then Goku's space pod will require speeds of about 69 billion times the speed of light in order to perform this feat. And Dragon Ball characters end up reacting to higher model spaceships and faster spaceships than this later on in the series. An argument for infinite speed would be using the fact that gas was able to traverse a portion of the universe in about 20 minutes, and we know the Dragon Ball universe is infinite. Now the exact distance between the 2 points specifically is kind of debatable, but we can use the fact that it's stated by Whis to be a distance impossible to teleport to directly. And just taking into account the different distances that characters like Goku and Vegeta have used instant transmission to teleport to previously, it wouldn't be so far-fetched to say that it would be an infinite distance that Gas is now crossing. As for abilities, there are of course the basics that any Dragon Ball character has access to: flight, ki blast, ki control in general. Being able to control ki and touch ki blast and attack with ki actually does also give Dragon Ball characters some level of soul manipulation, as of course it was established very heavily in the Moro Saga that your soul is part of your ki, and even characters like Vegeta can directly interact with and split off your soul. And Goku has gone through the same training that allowed him to access the power of the soul. And since they're constantly guarding and enhancing their bodies with this energy and, keeping barriers up with this energy, characters trying to interact with Dragon Ball characters and attack them and physically damage them would need to partially be able to damage spiritual things as well, or interact with spiritual things, or else your attacks are just going to be null and void. Goku's ki blasts, like the Kamehameha, are essentially very powerful energy beams that concentrate their energy into singular points, enhancing their power massively when they launch them. so it just acts as an extra way to enhance their AP. Goku can also use instant transmission to teleport directly in front of or to an opponent, covering any distance without actually covering said distance, by just being able to sense their life energy. Along with likely being able to attack your soul directly, he can also ignore your durability with abilities such as the Destructo Disc, which is a slicing based ability. He can also perform the Hakai if necessary, which just kind of ignores the durability of the soul itself and just erases you directly. Goku can also exist in realms lacking spacetime. And of course, while I'm nowhere near done with listing out his abilities, the last ability that I will be mentioning for the sake of this video is of course his partial plot manipulation, with being able to completely ignore the author's control and do things that the author can't even predict, the guy who literally wrote the story within the verse. Like, it's literally verbatim stated by the narrator that even the author was shocked and said it's out of his hands. This isn't an isolated moment either. He had previously broken the manga panel, and also in later chapters in the Buu saga, Krillin literally points out when Akira Toriyama is copying panels or just like drawing panels really badly. And Akira Toriyama's avatar Toribot literally appears in panel when Krillin says this. There's also the fact that, Arale is canon to Dragon Ball, like, explicitly, and she blatantly, constantly bullies Toriyama. It's kind of funny. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for abilities. I really don't think I need to say much more.
Now that both sides are concluded, who wins? Since I've given an interpretation of both characters and how strong they are, what they're capable of doing, I feel like I've done my job. So you let me know in the comments who you think wins. Join the Discord in the bio if you want to argue or just talk about JoJo scaling. And peace.